like we had mentioned, we kind of have just built into our mindsets because we've been doing this too long. But one of those things for sure being just taking before pictures and kind of how that benefits you in the long run.
New puppy, still doing good. So has she chewed anything major or
no,
get
nothing
into
of
anything
importance
yet?
really. She chewed like I got like that Amazon Fire Stick, you know. She chewed that up pretty good.
Really?
Yeah,
She's
like,
a tech dog.
yeah.
She's a
So
techie.
were you trying to change the channel? Are you trying to turn a movie on? Are you trying to get on Netflix? What are you trying to do? You know. So who knows? But it's like she could have
Well,
chewed much better things in the room, but didn't.
When
So.
you're away, what else is she gonna do? She's got to catch up on her Housewives episodes.
Yeah, right. But yeah, other than that, man, she's doing good. She's she's not doing anything. She's not going to the bathroom in the house. She's not making a mess or anything. So it's good job.
Good.
Yeah.
Did you get the cone off of her now?
God, yeah. I took that off like
good
4 days in. Like, luckily she wasn't trying to get at her stitches or anything, so I just took it off. I think it was bothering me more than her. You know?
Not embarrassing her, walking her around the block.
Yeah, embarrassing and just like, what's wrong with your dog? What's wrong with your dog? You know?
Right.
And it's just me, just like, God, I just felt so bad for her to like be walking around this cone. You can tell she just looked miserable. So I just popped that thing off. I was like, ah, she's fine.
It's been a couple weeks since we've touched base because of the holidays and everything. So how did the holidays go? How's everything going? All good? Are you back to work?
Yeah.
That?
I tell you, I don't know about you, but like this whole like Christmas on a Wednesday and New Year's on a Wednesday, like really just like
really hampered our Wednesday.
Everyone's schedule across the board, you know? I had originally told my guys, as one of my guys asked me, because we went out for breakfast and I do like those monthly meetings and stuff. So we'll go out for breakfast. And he said, so what does next week look like with Christmas being on Wednesday? And I was like, well, I'm like, just honestly, let me know what days you want to work. And in my mind, what I was thinking was like, if you have travel plans for Christmas, obviously do what you need to do. Otherwise, like, do you want to work Christmas Eve or not? Or do you want to work the day after Christmas or not? But Christmas being on a Wednesday, I figured for sure they'd both be there Monday and then both be there Friday. So one guy just immediately just goes, well, I'll take off just Wednesday through Friday then. And I was like, oh, you want the whole like Wednesday through Friday off? And he's like, yeah. And then the other guy goes, I think I'm just going to take the week off. I'm like, you want to take the whole week off? And he goes, yeah, if that's all right, like, unless you need me, I'll take the whole week off. I was like, no, want to take the whole week off? Take the whole week off. So at first I'm thinking like, man, what do you like little kids? You like play with your toys for 2 days after Christmas? Like what are you doing that you need 2 days off after Christmas? Unless you were traveling out of town or something, or we're hosting some out of town family or something, then I understand. But otherwise, I'm thinking, what are you going to need a whole week off? Like, that's just weird. Anyway, that was in hindsight, that was probably the better move, just to take the full week off, because some companies were just closed. And then some, everyone was just, you're just half tuned in, you're half in, half out, So it's, you know what? Just take the friggin' week and be done with it, So it's kind of weird just having that. And then New Year's, not the same, but similar kind of deal. Like on a Wednesday, no one's working that Wednesday, and everyone wants to cut out early Tuesday. Yeah, it's been just a weird schedule over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we just, I just flat out, it's kind of weird. I take so first I go to the stock market, and whatever they're doing, I tend to do that. And then, so if they're taking the days off, whatever their days off are, I'll follow that. And then here's the quirky thing about me, which you probably will understand. I look at my favorite coffee shop, and if they're off, then we're also off.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's your office. So, yeah.
Right.
Office is closed. What am I going to do?
Yeah. And they're very conservative. I just feel like if it's even a question, they're totally off. So they were off for 2 weeks. Their doors were closed for 2 weeks, like the week of Christmas and the week of New Year. done off.
And
And
a
I was,
there's a
so I,
coffee shop.
yeah, yeah, right. You would
That
think, but I kind of understand, like, just go and have fun with your family, and why not? They deserve time off too, So I was like, sure, all right. I think that makes sense anyways. It's in the middle of the week. No one wants to do anything or is going to do anything, and it's just going to blow my time.
Yeah.
Forget it. So we just took the 2 weeks off.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
So, all right, Todd. So what's our situation today?
I think we're touching the surface on, scratching the surface rather, on kind of pre-construction checklists that we kind of have built in. We had mentioned we kind of have just built into our mindsets because we've been doing this too long. But one of those things for sure being just taking before pictures and kind of how that benefits you in the long run.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's great. So we're going to continue on our one-on-one series here, and we're going to start with we kind of jumped the gun and just kind of grabbed what we were interested in at the time to talk about as far as the one-on-one series. But I think what we decided is maybe we'll start from like the beginning of a project, and maybe we'll do a couple one-on-one series with some kind of structure and flow. So let's start with I like that. Let's start with the pre-construction. So you brought up very first things first, pre-construction, go take your before pictures, right? And man, I cannot tell you how important that is and how many times that saved my butt. What about, why do you feel like that's so important to you? You brought it up, so I was wondering, what were you thinking?
Well, a few things. I mean, first and foremost, just on its face, you're getting before and after pictures, right? So that's just good for the portfolio for potential future projects. Good to have that so people know what you're capable of, and you have that wow factor of what that, East kitchen with the, yellow wallpaper with birds on it and the wallpaper border going around the antiquated soffit, when you get the full effect of that and then see what that transitions to, people can see what you're capable of. So that's always nice. But what I have certainly found more importantly is, I don't know if it's more importantly, but certainly at least of equal importance, is the just having that pre-existing damage or existing conditions that you have. It's just a CYA thing, right? Cover your ass, and you take all these pictures so you don't get the potential client. And I hate to say this, but they're out there. I always, me, I'm an optimist. I always like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but man, are they out there. The guy who wants to tell you when you're a week away from finishing the kitchen that you scratched the dryer and you never even worked in that room. But you scratched the dryer, and now my door to my garage doesn't work. And that's got to be because of you guys. And this doesn't work. And that, like, you get blamed for everything in the house. Yeah. My dog peed on the carpet. That's your guys' fault. That's like, you never peed on the carpet before. You scared him. So taking those pictures, and then you can look back and say, hey, you know what? And I don't necessarily go to this extent. I know a couple companies that do, but to actually take those pictures, go back to your office, upload those, and go over those with the client beforehand and say, just so you know, we've saw this, like your front door is scratched, your hardwood floor has a ding in it over here, your wallpaper seam is opening up over here, just so they know that, and then you're not getting blamed for it 3 months later. So super important in my book for multiple reasons.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I have quite a couple examples I could share about how that's so important. I want to elaborate, though, on taking pictures. Let's go a step further. And what I did in my last project, was it 2 projects ago? I went around and took video instead of pictures. So the pros and cons on that. So what I learned was I went way too fast. So the video is a little wonky. I guess in today's day and age, if I bought one of those video, or maybe one of those holders that you put your phone in that keeps it from shaking all over the place. So, because when you might get a little seasick watching me. Yeah, right. So I learned on that. So don't do that. Definitely need to go much slower. But what I liked about it was one big just file, and I can kind of just thumb through the video, and I know where I'm at kind of in the house as it's going. It's a little bit easier. So I kind of like that. On the downsides though, also pro and con is the file size is large. It's a video, so it takes up a lot of space.
Are you narrating this video as you're walking through?
I was not, though I can imagine I could. And in hindsight, when there was a little scratch or something that I wanted to focus on, I just pushed the camera closer to the thing that I was trying to pick up on. But what I guess I should have done after watching the video is like point my finger at it, maybe explain or use audio. I wasn't using audio. I wasn't speaking. There was no reason why. I don't know why I didn't even think about doing it. I don't know. For some reason, I was shy about talking to myself, walking through someone's house. I don't know why it didn't. But I don't know. I can see that. Think about it. Give it a try. See if you like it. I liked it and I didn't like it. And I think I could make that could go a lot better. But, instead of having, I don't know, 100 photos and then not knowing exactly where that photo is, that's kind of tough. If you take a close-up picture of a drywall, well, what room was that in? In this particular job, I was doing 3 bathrooms in the house. So not only was I taking photos of the bathrooms, all 3 bathrooms, but also the hallways and the whole rest of the house, right, that we're walking through and everything. So that's why I thought a video was going to be a little bit more helpful. I think I could get better at it, but give it a go.
Yeah.
I have an example about taking pictures, and I know this example isn't the before picture, but I would say that just as important is taking pictures ongoing throughout as you're doing pictures every day,
Sure.
what you've done and what you haven't done. So we got all done this was a bathroom remodel and the shower, and this was many years ago. But this is kind of what solidified why I take so many photos is we were all done, and I personally did all the plumbing work. So I did all the soldering and everything for the shower. Shower's all done, and the homeowner called and was complaining that there was a loud noise in the shower every time they used the vanity sink. So you would turn on the vanity sink, you would hear a noise in the shower faucet. How weird is that?
Super in the faucet or from
weird.
a drain, like a vent that wasn't.
No, it was in the faucet, like behind the wall, as
like a water hammer.
Very kind of like a water hammer, kind of. It wasn't exactly like that, but you could very easily blame it. Say that that's what it was. Also, what we were thinking was possibly the pipe was expanding and contracting and up against like a hole in the 2x4, and like as if I didn't ream the hole out large enough or that I made it too tight against a 2x4, which that totally could make that kind of noise. So I got blamed for it, right? And initially the blame was that I didn't run the pipes properly. Well, I went back and looked at my photos, and I'm sure you know me and how methodical I am. I made that thing look so pretty. I have a lot of respect in my copper plumbing pipes in the wall, right? And I thought I did everything right. So I went back, and of course you're second guessing yourself. I looked at all the photos, and I did a wonderful job. I thought it was great, and I can't find any fault in it. So I showed everybody. Everybody's like, is there something that I did wrong? Why is it making this noise? Whatever. Long story short, we ended up getting a representative of the faucet in the shower out. It was a Hansgrohe. So they came out and take a look at it, and it ended up becoming a faulty cartridge in the faucet. Brand new faucet. Yeah, brand new faucet. But this took weeks and weeks of people all blaming the contractor, right? So the point being is, if I didn't have that pretty picture of how I ran the plumbing pipes in the wall, I don't know if it ever would have gotten to the point where we would have called a representative to go further
Excellent point.
because everybody was looking at the photos and going, yeah, we can't see any faults in how we ran the plumbing. So it can't be the plumbing. Okay, then we moved on to the next. But if you didn't have that photo, you may not have been able to say that that wasn't the problem.
Sure. There's just going to be a whole
it's a
lot of
good
finger pointing
example.
and speculation, and God only knows where that
Yeah,
conversation goes, but it can go south pretty quickly, you know?
really south, real quick.
Yeah.
Thank goodness the homeowners were cordial and friendly and understanding, especially after finding out that it was what a simple, just pop the cartridge out, put a new cartridge in, boom, done. It went
That's
away.
it.
Never had a problem.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So take pictures, everybody.
Yeah.
Take photos.
Yeah.
It's that
Excellent.
simple.
Excellent example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something else that you guys want to think about, and I know this is probably simple, but porta potty. What do we do? How do we do it? Do we do it? Do you do it? I know it wasn't that prevalent before COVID. I just didn't see it happening that much on every project. But once COVID hit, it became like a standard thing and it never went away. We do it on every single project, big or small. If we're going to be there for more than a few days, we're getting a toilet out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing every project is having a porta potty out there. I think it's a great idea. It's another expense onto the client. But I think the clients seem to like it. They like the idea of not having to worry about contractors coming into their house or using their bathrooms or anything to that sort. So I don't have to worry about that. I love it. I love the idea of it. It adds another complexity of where are we going to put it and another thing to store outside on the house and all of that. And then you have to make sure that it's close enough so it can be cleaned once a week. So make sure that the truck can get to it and service. Yeah. What about you?
I would agree. I would say the majority of projects we're using on porta potty. The only time that I'd say we wouldn't, if it's like, you know me, I do the small 1 day, 2 day jobs too. So if it's that, obviously we're not getting a porta potty out there. But the only other thing would be if we're doing like a basement and there's already a dedicated bathroom down there and there's just no need for a porta potty. Like no one in the house uses it, but it's there. If it's sectioned off and it's like strictly ours, then no need for a porta potty. But otherwise, we're good. To your point about, where do you put it and where, like, I had this whole conversation a couple weeks back. We were doing a bathroom remodel and this guy said, so where are we going to put the porta potty? And I said, well, right in your driveway. And they have a, 2-car attached garage, blacktop, set far back from the street, and they're in like a cul-de-sac. So I was like, we're just, pick a side, left or right. We're just going to stick it right in your driveway. And he said, well, I don't know that I want it on my driveway. And I said, okay, we can put it in the grass, but we got to make sure to kind of slide it around every now and again, because if you leave it in the same spot, it's going to kill your grass. And so I said, unless you're fine with that, and you can just seed it in the spring or whatever. And so he said, well, I definitely prefer the grass. But he said, we don't really get along with our neighbor right next door. And I said, oh, well, we can put it on the other side of the driveway then, so we're away from their house if you don't want to cause any arguments. And he said, no. I want to put it as close to his house as possible. So I said, oh, all right. Say no more. I said, we'll put it right on the lot line for you. So we did. We put it literally like right on the lot line. And this guy, if he's out on his back deck, he's staring at a porta potty, But I was just like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, that's what you want to do. It's your property. We'll do it, So I was cracking up when we did that. But it's interesting because this client likes to ask a lot of questions, which is fine. I welcome questions. He said, I don't know that I've ever had anyone ask me this, but he said, so if this falls over or gets tipped over, who's liable for that? And I was like, well, I said, first and foremost, I said, we put sandbags down. I said, it's on kind of a skid of 2x4s. And then what are you doing? I just complimented you as a good dog. So I said it's on kind of a skid of 2x4s, and we usually will put sandbags down or something if it's going to be in case we get a windy day or whatever. And he said, well, he said, what if there's, he said, there's a lot of teenagers around here. And he said, what if teenagers decide it's a good idea to just tip the porta potty over? And I was like,
oh boy.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I mean, and like, so I said, no one's ever asked me that. I said, what do you mean by liable for that? And they said, I mean, if we need to stand it back up, like me and my guys will stand it back up, but we're not going to clean it. We would actually call the porta potty company and they'll come out and service the whole thing or possibly just exchange it and give us a new one and take this one back. But I said, I don't know what else you mean by liable. And he said, well, that's, I guess, just what I was getting at. Like if teenagers tip it over. And so I was thinking, okay, that's an interesting. I never think of, I haven't been a teenager in a long time. I never thought of teenagers coming by and like, hey, I'm bored. Let's go tip that porta potty over. I'd lock my friend in it, but I don't know that I would tip it over.
Interesting. I wonder how that project went with that homeowner, if he's thinking that, or if he must have just a bunch of reckless kids that he deals with all the time in his neighborhood or something.
Could be. Yeah. But for your mind to go that way, I've never even considered that. Now I have had a porta potty blow over in the wind, high winds before. Live and learn on that one. That was not a pretty sight at all.
I bet. I thought the homeowner was asking about tipping it over because he was purposely wanting to tip it over on accident onto his neighbor's lot line. Like, oh, it fell over again.
This thing is just unstable. I'll see what I can do, but I'm sorry about that.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
It was a windy night last night. Did you hear that wind?
Yeah. Funny stuff. But yeah, I'm saying we're using them, more often than not, for sure.
Okay, good. Yeah, I use them on every project. I don't do the small projects much. Everything that we do is multiple weeks, months. So
yeah.
So we have them on every project. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how we deal with passing that cost on, I mean, it's just part of estimating. So if you're questioning how you do that, it's just kind of part of it's built into the estimate now. It's kind of just a standard thing now. So it's just, it's not like the homeowner gets to choose. We have one and it's there.
Yeah. Takes any potential problems out of the equation.
Yeah. Also, pre-construction, you're thinking about trying to make sure you have space and where you're going to put a dumpster. Do you need a dumpster? How are you going to deal with the debris? So how do you guys deal with that?
I will always get a dumpster if I can. Yeah. If there is space for a dumpster, I absolutely want a dumpster. If there is not, then we use a hauling service. And we have a couple different hauling services that we call, and they're both great. They'll show up in a box truck. A couple guys jump out with garbage cans, garbage bags, brooms, and shovels, and whatever it is, and they'll get rid of everything quick, and they do a nice job. The problem is, it's kind of like broken window syndrome, where it's like, if you have that garbage sitting around a job site, that job site just gets dirtier and dirtier. And I hate that. I hate that because I feel like you're constantly showing up on a project and saying, okay, hey guys, clean up after yours, clean this up, clean that up, whatever. So you get the construction debris that starts to build up, and then you get, the plumber will come in and he stopped at Burger King on the way there, and then he just throws his Burger King bag over, adds to the pile. Now you got food garbage in there, and that's smelling, and it's just terrible. So I will always opt for a dumpster if I can. They come in different sizes. So, if you do a little bit of forethought, you get the proper cubic yardage on that, and you're covered. And it's just easier. Everyone's end of the day or whatever it is, they're grabbing their stuff, cleaning it up, throwing it right in the dumpster. It's a non-issue, except for the people who fly dump. You get these that want to drive around and look for dumpsters in the neighborhood. But
yeah. When I was out there in the Midwest, I always opted for a dumpster as well. I just feel like you guys have space. Here, we don't have space. I will not get a dumpster unless I absolutely need one.
Really?
So, yeah. how we handle it is I'm hiring a demo crew that comes in and they take all the garbage from demo day. So that's the bulk of the garbage. And then I just request all of my trade partners to clean up and take their garbage daily. And I tell them up front that that's how we're handling trash. It was very, very difficult to hammer this into their heads. So it's taken a lot of
I believe
time
it.
to get them to be willing to take their own garbage, especially your electricians. They do not like to take their own garbage.
Out there too.
It's really hard, and I don't understand it. Like garbage is probably was one of the biggest headaches I was having for over a year, and we just don't have space for a dumpster. It takes up too much space. We don't have a lot of space to store one, and then also they're only good for 7 to 10 days, and then you have to replace it, or they charge you extra, or you have to buy another one to keep. It's a
Yeah.
pain in the butt, right?
Yeah.
And it's a huge cost. And everybody wants like to have a dumpster on the project for the entire project. But if I have a 6-month project and I don't really need a dumpster for each trade, they don't create that much garbage, but in totality, a dumpster would be great, right? And if I had the ability to have a dumpster sit on my job site for 6 months and not have to worry about being charged every 7 weeks or every 7 days for a new dumpster, that's really expensive. Really adds up.
Yeah. Yeah, I can add up.
And I just couldn't I couldn't wrap my brain up how to make it work. And I haven't been able to find a dumpster company that works the way that I would love them to work. And I totally understand, because they could be making money with that dumpster that's sitting on your lot for 6 months. So I understand. So there's 2 ways to do it that I've come to. One is the way I'm doing it now, where you have a demo crew come. If you're doing your own demo, this is different. If you're doing your own demo, I would probably get a dumpster and then just try to get as much trades in on rough in before that 7 to 10 days is up, or hold on to that dumpster as long as I can. And then once you lose it, you lose it. But currently, we have a demo crew. They take all the garbage, and then now we're just dealing with manageable size garbage on a daily basis. So you're talking about just, plumber garbage, electrician's garbage, and they can take their own garbage. They can. I physically see them. They are capable of putting garbage into a garbage can. I've seen it happen.
I don't believe you.
So all they need to do is take it with them. And so once you've kind of made that, ingrained that this is, and then in the beginning, how I pushed it was, look, charge me for it. Put something in your quote for it. You're going to get rid of your garbage. So put it in there. And they started to put it in there. And then the guys show up and still expect me to take out their garbage. And I'm like, but you guys are literally charging me for it. So just clean up, right? Clean up every day, make it nice and presentable, and leave and take the garbage can with you. So it works nice now, and everybody's doing it, and it's all understandable. Everything's great. You just have to remind them, because I don't think a lot of contractors work the way that I do. So I have to remind them that this contractor requires you to clean up every day and take your garbage. So the other way that I see it happening is if you have your own dumpster trailer. Then what you could do is just pull your dumpster trailer, drop it there. It's not costing you anything because you own it. And then that becomes your little dumpster. I think that's great. I don't have the luxury of owning one, so I'm not there yet to warrant the expense of owning one and then having to store it in between jobs and stuff. Because remember, I'm only doing a couple projects a year.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be worth it for us.
Probably not.
So
Super easy
right.
to build it into your costs as opposed to having that as overhead and one more thing to worry about.
Right. Yep. So that's how we're doing it. If you are getting a dumpster though, and we're still in the like the pre-construction checklist kind of conversation, dumpster, you want to make sure that they're putting down wood, plywood,
Yes.
2x12s. Just get something down, especially if it's going over a driveway. Just protect that driveway. Protect the driveway.
Absolutely.
All right, what else you got for pre-construction?
What else for pre-construction? Well, I guess we need to categorize what pre-construction and what's prep work. I mean, if we're talking pre-construction, you're talking. I mean, that's a whole long checklist, right? Your permits, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Make depending on what type of project you're doing. Are you making neighbors aware that there's going to be all kinds of noise for the next couple months? Sometimes that can generate business for you, or they just appreciate the fact that you're coming over and letting them know if there's loud music or a lot of saws running or people microwaving in their driveway, or these are the things that you might see on a typical project.
Let's not go there again.
So I don't know what we're
talking
considering
about
pre-construction, but something like that.
Yeah, you're talking about like door hangers or something like that. That's kind of a marketing thing, but it's also nice to be able to go around. We did that for a little bit. We don't do it very often. It's kind of if I feel like the neighbors if the neighbors are really going to be inconvenienced, then we'll go around and knock on the doors and let them know what's going on. But yeah, that's like you can do a door hanger that way if you're introverted and you don't want to knock on the door, you make these little door hangers and go around and just pardon our dust. We're going to be in the neighborhood. Yeah, just let them all know. It's a good marketing ploy.
It is.
Just to get your name out there in the neighborhood. You're already working out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things you can do with that, but that's something you can do. That's a good pre-construction thing. I was wondering another
just the logistics of things, right?
Sure.
Such as where is everyone parking? Are people parking in, let's say you have a huge driveway on this project. Are work trucks allowed to pull into their driveway? Because how many times have you had a work truck pull in and then the client calls you the next day and says, hey, someone's leaking oil and leaked in my driveway?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we got to be careful of that. You got to, yeah. I remember for a long time there, this was years ago, I haven't had to deal with that, but I used to have to always ask all of the trades before they parked. I'm out there going, does your car leak oil? Does your car leak oil? And, I would carry around like this cardboard box that I was always like sliding under people's cars just in case.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've had that problem in a long time, but you bring up a good point. Yeah, think about that. Where is everyone going to park? Is there street parking? Is there rules on the street parking? Why don't you give your trade partners a heads up there? Let them know how that parking is going to work.
Sure.
Yeah.
Permit parking.
That's good.
Out here, street sweeping all the time. So
yeah.
Things like that. Where are you putting your tools and your materials? Is there a dedicated spot, in someone's garage or in the work area where you have your your staging area for everything? So
yeah, you really should be having that kind of conversation with the homeowners during something like an expectations conversation about we're going to have all these, possibly have tools, we're going to have materials. Where do we set this up? What we've done a lot is we usually ask for one of the bays in the garage. So we take up a whole bay in the garage. So if there's 2-car garage, then somebody's parking outside if they have 2 cars. And we just talk that through and make sure they're okay with it. And let them know the expectation, right? Or maybe there's an empty room in the house that we can use to set everything up in. Just think that through on where everything's going to go. Good. That's a good one. Yeah. I would argue to have those conversations early on, like not the first day that you show up with a hammer to start a demo.
No,
Maybe have those
absolutely.
conversations much earlier
Absolutely
than that.
beforehand. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
beforehand. Like I said,
Yeah.
part of managing expectations on their part and just your guys knowing what they're supposed to do and where things are going, and just beneficial for everybody, you know? The more of those boxes you check before you start, the better off everybody is. You know, much just leads to a smoother project across the board.
Speaking of smoother project, do you do any kind of
Asphalt?
job site binder or a book of some kind, or do you even have a plan set sitting on site? Like,
Yes.
okay,
So I
all of the
do.
above.
I always have a job box, just a good sized tote. Inside of that tote, there should always be plastic, always be blue tape, always be electrical tape. I put the little shark bite and water caps in there just in case something happens or whatever. If we need to cut a pipe, cap a pipe, whatever. So there's an emergency kit in there of just band-aids, gauze pads, peroxide, that kind of stuff. And then I have a project folder in there as well. And that project folder is going to be contact information of the client. So if I'm not there, then someone who is there, if they can't get a hold of me, then they can go directly to the client in the event of an emergency, right? Here's their cell phone number, whoever's involved, whoever wants to divulge their cell phone number, and a whole scope of work for everybody, every trade, and then who is doing that. So what trades are involved or listed in that project book, and then just bullet pointed scope of work for everything. If we get that far along, depending who's involved, if there's a designer involved, or if there's an architect involved, if there's an architect involved, you're gonna have a full set of plans. But if there's a designer involved, if we have room finish schedules, so lighting fixtures, plumbing fixtures, whatever, all that's going to be in that book as well. Appliances, I have appliance specs in there, so everyone has access to that. So I try and make everything as readily available, so eliminate those on-site questions.
Yeah, I think that's great. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is you can't necessarily make everybody look at that all the time. So I'll still get phone calls. What are we doing about this? Did you look in the book? Where's the book?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't, you can lead a horse to water, right?
Yeah. So how do you do to eliminate that? Because what I do to eliminate those conversations is I'm pretty adamant when the trade shows up for the first day. So the plumber or the electrician or whoever, tile guy, when they show up, I'm there to meet them and I walk them through the project again, which is not the first time they've been there, but we're going to do it again. And then I show them the job box. I show them the plan set and the binder, and I show them where they can find all of their answers, because it's a lot of information and it's a lot of noise, and there's information for the plumber that maybe somebody else, another trade, doesn't care. So they have to thumb through everybody's information because it's all there. So I show them where his information is in the binder or whatever in the book. And before you call me, if you have a question, take a look at the book. It's right here. It's all right here, right? If it's not spelled out in there, please give me a call. I'm more than happy to help. But we've gone over everything. We've talked through everything. You have not written any notes down. You just started walking around and you're not writing any notes. Here's the job binder with all said notes that you might need.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the waitress at the restaurant who's not writing anything down. Are you sure you're going to remember everybody's order? Are you sure? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to trust that until you see it.
Yeah. So that's what I try to do. I still get those phone calls, and I'll be a little passive aggressive, well, I wonder if the job book might answer our question. Maybe we should go and check that. Have you looked at that? Yeah, I forgot that we had that. Well, yeah, go check it out, because I didn't spend like a week putting that together for no reason, Yeah,
exactly. There was some serious thought and consideration put into this project before you walked in the door,
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a good contractor who's doing that ahead of time so that you're making it easier for all your guys. So they want to be on your projects, you know?
Exactly.
I had a plumber say that to me not too long ago. You know, I still work with Tom, and he's got, 6, 7, 8 guys any given time, however busy he is or whatever. And one of the guys who works for him, he's like, I haven't been on a top drawer job in a long time. He's like, this is great. And I was like, why? And he goes, because you guys, like, if I'm coming here, you guys know I'm coming, and everything's always cleared out. It's like, oh, the plumber's going to be here today. He's like, I feel like a king walking in here. Because it's like, oh, everything's cleared out. Here's your stuff, all nicely labeled and laid out for you. And it's like, it's just great. I just walk in and do my job. And I was like, is it not like this on every remodeling projects that you walk into? He's like, are you kidding? How many times I walk into a project, they have half the stuff. No one knows where it is. No one knows what's going on. There's no one in charge. It's just a zoo. And I was like, okay, yeah, well, you're welcome. So
I hear the same things all the time.
And send me a Christmas gift.
Right?
I appreciate it,
Some efficiency credit.
Yeah. How about it? This works both ways.
Yeah, I hear the same things all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good spot, man. Pre-construction checklist is that, like, mine's 2 pages long, so we can go on and on and on. There's so much out there, but hopefully that gets you started, get some ideas rolling. If you don't have a pre-construction checklist, you might want to make one.
Start developing one.
All right. Yeah. Till next time. Cheers.
Right. Cheers, man. What are you drinking?
Got myself